Awesome. All right. Welcome to the Mind, Body, and Soul show. And tonight you are joining me and Lindsey Antman. Welcome, Lindsey, to the show.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And tonight we are going to be going over Mind Body Kitchen, how to lose the COVID-19 weight. And the reason that Lindsey is the best person to talk about this is because she has been helping people live their best lives for a very long time. So I'm going to brag on her for just a second, and then I'm going to let her tell us more about who she is, what she does, and we're going to dive into a whole lot of juicy goodness tonight that's probably going to come from a lot of vegetables and fruit, just knowing what we're going to be talking about. So it's going to be nice and juicy with those kinds of foods, and maybe a little bit of, is there like juicy chocolate? I don't know, but I hope so. So it'll be great. And so Lindsey and we met actually not too long ago, and it was like an immediate connection. You know, when you meet someone and you're like, I like this person. I want to hang out with this person more. How do we hang out? When do I get to see you next? Right? Very like, and the older we get, the less amount of people that I have experienced that true connection becomes. So Lindsey, I'm so grateful that we have that true connection and that you're out helping people. So you have been a core power yoga teacher, and you still are, and you teach private classes and group classes online, in person. And then you also just finished your first manuscript for your first book, where you're talking about your journey and your story and helping people with how they psychologically are connected to the way that they eat and how that affects the way that we live. And you are a coach. I have it in the notes. I don't have it in my mind, but you are a coach, and we're going to dive more into that. And you're about to take the stage and tell us all about what you do. And you help people reach their weight goals, but also more importantly, their soul goals, like their how they all come together. And it's just an honor and a pleasure to have you on tonight. And for those of you that are listening in this portion, so we can, why we're doing this is because her and I are doing a yoga and essential oils class where she's actually going to be leading us through movements. I'm going to be leading us through different oils to go through 3 different chakras. And we are doing that on July 10th. At 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And so don't worry, we will put all the information in the links. And usually this would be anywhere from $90 to $120 for an hour of Lindsey and I's time, but we're actually offering it for just $10, and you're going to get all the goodness involved with it. So now that I've said everything I need to say that I feel so far, the rest of me will probably be more just asking questions. Lindsey, please tell us and expand upon everything about you.
Oh, wow. Well, you pretty much just said it all. And for those who can't see my face, I'm smiling so big because she's absolutely right. We had this immediate connection, and I can't wait until I get to see you and hug you in person. But yeah, so I am a coach. Technically, specifically, if you want to get technical, I have an eating psychology coach certification. And how I got to that point is I was studying nutrition and dietetics in my undergrad. My goal was to become a registered dietitian. Very grateful for the universe that plan did not work out, because in my heart, in my soul, I would not have felt fulfilled. I would not have felt happy just handing out diets and teaching and preaching to people about nutrition, the things that they already know. And not to downplay nutrition, because it absolutely is important. What we eat, how we fuel our body is absolutely essential to know. But I think we know. I think there's so much information out there that it ends up confusing us. It ends up putting us in boxes. It ends up not always working to our benefit. So when I was in high school and college, I started getting into quote unquote nutrition, and I went about it the wrong way. I started counting calories. I started becoming obsessive about what I ate each and every day, to the point that it controlled my every thought, my every choice. I had a really negative body image. I was in constant comparison mode. And to make a really long story short, I healed my obsessive behaviors and thoughts with food. I healed my binge eating. I healed my body image. And I don't even want to say healed because it is ongoing, right? As long as we are alive, the work is not done. We are constantly a work in progress. But that experience is what led me to this deeper knowing of, okay, nutrition and food is important, but there's more to the story. There's more to what makes a human being healthy. And that's when I wanted to dive into the psychology and kind of blend nutrition and psychology and learn the tools so that I could connect with people on a deeper heart level, learn about their thoughts, their emotions, their story with food, to get to kind of those deeper roots of what's actually holding them back from having the success that they want. So then I found the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, and I went through their online program to become a certified eating psychology coach. And then I became a certified yoga teacher. And again, thank you, universe, that kind of just fell into my lap. It wasn't really planned. It just sort of happened. And I could not be more grateful that it did. So I'll pause there because I know I tend to ramble. I'm just so excited about everything.
Yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. And you brought up so many good points. So we're going to dissect a little bit at a time. And any rabbit holes you want to go down, sister, we can go there, because that's what this whole thing is about. The Mind, Body, Soul podcast. It really is about having an authentic conversation. The reason this whole thing started 3 years ago was because there were so many good conversations happening in my life. And I was like, I just want to have these conversations with people and record them and put them out there for other people to listen to. Because, I mean, it just, that's what this was all about. So this is literally for the person who's watching or listening, you get to just tune in to a conversation that Lindsey and I are having. And it's like being a fly on the wall in both of our apartments, homes. I don't know if you live in an apartment, but in both of our homes, and just see what we're doing. Right. It's really great. And so let's back up a little bit. When you were going to school initially, in high school, you were doing fad diets. Can you tell us a little bit more about what those fad diets included and how did you feel? I mean, tell us more about that, because I'm sure we have parents that tune in or teenagers that might be listening. And they're like, well, what does a fad diet really mean? And all that.
Goodness gracious, where do I start? My mind is swirling because I can't even remember how many I personally tried or looked into. Essentially, if you're trying to decide or figure out whether a way of eating is a lifestyle or a fad diet, meaning, when we say fad diet, it's essentially something that is short term. I mean, it's intended to be short term. And maybe they make that obvious. This is a 3-day eating plan, or this is a 7-week eating plan. And that's okay. Right? We do those things knowing that they're not meant to last forever. But then there are so many other ways of eating that are marketed as a lifestyle, when in fact should only be, if you even, need to pursue that at all, should only be short term. I don't know, do you want me to call any out? Because I can, but it's knowing that if we pursue these ways of eating long term, that they could actually end up having negative consequences on our health, having the opposite effect that we intended them to have, whether it's weight loss, whether it's, detoxing, whether it's curing, I don't want to say cure, but mental health, fatigue, brain fog, all these things that certain ways of eating tend to claim that they have these benefits. We look to food for healing, but we also look to food for healing. And what I mean by what I'm trying to say is we can't just rely on food. We can't worship food as this thing, because it's important, but it's not the entire story. And what I do with clients is I look at their entire life and we dissect all the pieces of their life in order to figure out what is causing them the most stress, what is having the biggest impact on the thing they're trying to solve. Did I even answer the question?
Yeah, it did. And it reminded me that we're bringing it back to how to lose the COVID-19 weight. I didn't even say that this whole time. And it's like, hold up. wait a minute, because
Mm-hmm.
that's that, you mentioned like, a 3-day cleanse or detox, a week or 7 weeks. So when people want to lose weight, they're like, hey, I gained the 19 pounds or more throughout COVID. What do I do to lose this? And how do I stay motivated? Because we're coming out of a crazy time and people are now, and it's summertime. So we're getting back together with people. So we're eating a lot of food. People are going out again. So they're having lots of drinks and all these things because we're social again. And when,
Right.
I know for me, like if I've gone to a restaurant to go eat with family members that I haven't been able to go to a restaurant with for a long time, and I'm like, yeah, I want to order the chips and queso, and yeah, I want to order the burger and the fries and the Coke, and because they're ordering all the stuff for pizza. Like, let's order pizza tonight. Come over to the house. We'll watch a movie. And I'm like, yeah, at work, let's order pizza. I'm like, yeah, duh. Like, what do we do with all the pizza and burgers and French fries and the social gatherings? Like, I know this is a super loaded question.
It is super loaded.
I know.
It's okay. I feel you, because that is often how it feels when we get to that moment, when we get to that place of, oh my goodness, where do I start? Like, if I want to explore this and break it down, like, where do I even begin? How do I tackle this? And I'm feeling that overwhelm with you, sort of like, how do I tackle such a big question? And I forgot to mention this, when I was in high school and I started going down that rabbit hole of what started as an innocent approach to healthy eating and quickly turned into an unhealthy obsession with nutrition and food and how to eat healthy. One of the things that I think really triggered that for me was this fear of gaining the freshman 15, right? We've all heard of that. And it would be so-and-so saying that, hey, look at her, she gained so much weight in college, don't let that happen to you. So before I even entered college, I was afraid of gaining the freshman 15 because I didn't want to be one of those people that other people talked about. So I did everything that I could to lose 15. It was like lose 15 pounds, right? Like, not really, but I just, so anyway, the COVID-19 that people are referring to now, this COVID-19 weight, it's triggering for me. And maybe other people can relate to that, because what happens is when we talk about it in that way, I mean, we don't realize the power in our words and how doing anything from a place of fear is not going to work. So I was actually looking for a text that I sent one of my clients earlier, because I just wanted to mention this, is that fast weight loss is not sustainable weight loss. And weight loss driven by disgust and shame is not sustainable weight loss. So if you're sitting there thinking, okay, we're coming out of over a year of being in lockdown. Maybe there was some weight gain, maybe there was not. Just know that during the pandemic, we were in a season. That was a season of our life. Nothing lasts forever. But whatever happened during that season of your life, it happened. And whatever the wisdom of your body shared with you, is what happened. So it's not necessarily helpful or beneficial to look back on that season of your life with shame, with disgust, with guilt, with judgment. It's not going to get you where you want to go. So what is the opposite of that? It's love. It's trust. It's respecting your body. It's forgiveness. Right? So these are all everything that I don't even know what I just rambled, but each one of those topics could probably be a whole hour conversation. So if any of what I'm saying is resonating with you, or there's just a couple of things that you're picking up on, write it down, and maybe we can come back to that later. But if you have questions, that's why we're here having this conversation.
That is, and you help people walk through these different ideas of looking at, okay, I want to lose weight, but where are we starting at in our brain first? You ever been to the gym and you're working out, and then all of a sudden you have a negative thought because you see somebody else that is fitter than you, and you think, well, I'm a fat sack of potatoes compared to them, and all of a sudden you stop running, like you slow down, and you're like, oh, I can't do this, like, and it's the same way with the way that we're looking at what we're putting in our body, right? We got to start here first. It really doesn't start at the grocery store. It starts in our mind. Like, can I do this? And am I willing to forgive myself, like you're saying, for gaining, like, allowing COVID to negatively impact me?
Yeah.
Like, that's huge. So we start there. So if you would say, if someone needs to start somewhere for going through this process of wanting to lose the COVID-19 weight, are you saying that it starts in our mind?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And I would say, just based on the conversation we're having, a great place to start before you even think about what am I going to do? When am I going to exercise? How am I going to eat? Before you even get to that part of the conversation, pause, look back on the pandemic, look back on this past year of your life and say, okay, it happened. I'm not alone. Number one, I'm not alone. And can you forgive yourself? Can you just take a deep breath and say, okay, whatever happened, maybe it happened for me. If you're like spiritual like that, that things do happen for us. I mean, I like to look back on this past year and think, yeah, I wasn't able to be out with people. I wasn't able to see people as often as I'd like to. But maybe that happened for me. Maybe that gave me more time to be alone, to see what that was like, to be more present with my partner.
Yeah.
So before we go down that rabbit hole, just know that forgiveness is kind of that main takeaway, to start there.
Start there. Well, I don't know about you, but I already feel better. I'm like, okay, so if I think I can, I will. If I think I can, I have a better chance than if I think I can't, then I won't, right? Like, there's a saying, you think you can, you're right. You think you can't, you're right.
Absolutely.
So what do you want to think about, right? Think about that and go through that. Because now the leggings that we've been wearing for a year, we can keep wearing those, or we can believe that we can fit back into the jeans that we were wearing in 2019. Like, we can feel better.
And remember what I said too about, fast weight loss is not sustainable weight loss. This doesn't have to be like a gung-ho all in or all out. I mean, I hear from so many women I have conversations with that even if they don't think that they're stuck in this sort of all or nothing mentality, just pay attention to the words that you use. Pay attention to what you envision when you picture yourself in the kitchen making a healthy meal, for weeks on end. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be all in, and then once you make a mistake, that's it, and you give up, because that's what happens to so many people. And not just with the pandemic. I mean, throughout history. If you feel like you're constantly on again, off again when it comes to eating well or, fulfilling your health goals, then maybe you're being a little too strict. Maybe you need to ease up a little bit and know that it doesn't have to be perfect.
So you talk about some of these, you said the way we're talking to ourselves in the kitchen, or words that we're using for all or nothing thinking. Is that what you're saying? Right? Can you name a few of those so like our audience can think, oh yeah, well, that's me, or no, that's not me?
Well, I guess we can circle back to fad diets, and maybe I'll just pick on one.
Okay.
You probably can guess. I'm going to talk about keto. I don't know enough about keto. There's people out there that probably know more about it than me, because I didn't even care to learn about it in the sense of like what you have to eat and how, like, all I knew is that imbalance of macronutrients is not healthy. It doesn't work for the body. Your body needs carbohydrates and fats and protein in a balance. In fact, the amount of protein that they say you need is actually way more than your body can handle. We only need, I mean, depending on your level of physical activity, and all that in your age, it's anywhere from like 10 to 20% of your intake should be protein. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's somewhere around there. And your brain needs carbohydrates. So
yeah.
So where was I going with that? Okay, so when it comes to all or nothing, you know, we go into something like that. We tell ourselves it's a lifestyle. So if we don't embrace it fully, then we must be doing something wrong. Then we're a failure, right? And with keto specifically, it's like they promote putting your body into ketoacidosis. You know, did I say that right? And then it's like if you slip up or you make a mistake, then it literally pulls you out. It's like you're taking a step backwards from reaching that that level of ketones in your body that is supposed to help you burn fat. Which truthfully, again, when I said earlier about doing these fad diets and treating it like a lifestyle instead of just a short-term thing, being in ketoacidosis for an extended period of time can really cause some damage on the body. It's not healthy for most people. I'm going to say for most people.
Okay. So as far as the language goes, we talk about like all or nothing. So using a, you know, fad diet or a way of living a lifestyle that someone chooses to do, and they might say, I'm going to go keto. And I'm going to eat keto for the next 30 days or 60 days or 90 days. And then let's say they get started on that keto diet, like good for them. However, then if they slip up a couple of times and they're thinking, oh, I'm a failure. This isn't working now. I need to go back to the way I was eating before because this isn't, I obviously can't do this, right? That's kind of like that all or nothing thinking is what you're saying.
Sort of. And, you know, on the flip side of that, what I've also seen happen quite often, especially with some of my clients, is where believing that in order to be healthy, I have to approach it with, you know, I'm either all in or I'm all out. And I see that a lot with women. Maybe they're entrepreneurs, they're high achieving, right? And this all or nothing mentality also can prevent them from even getting started.
Yeah.
Because of the fear of failure, because, well, I don't trust myself enough to, you know, do it all right or like follow all the rules, whatever plan or program or system that they want to try and follow, even if it's their own goals that they're setting, right? They'll tend to, as a high achiever, they'll tend to set really high goals. And then they think, oh man, I'm not going to be able to attain that. So I just won't even try.
Yeah.
And they might not consciously think that. It's oftentimes a little bit more subconscious that all these thoughts are happening. But that all or nothing mentality either prevents people from getting started, or it just prevents them from continuing when they make a mistake or when they slip up or when they're not perfect to their standards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know a lot of people like that. One lives in my home. We even share a bed. So, and she looks just like me. It's really weird. And I keep thinking like, you really shouldn't think like that. though.
Are you talking about you?
I'm talking about me. Yeah. Yeah, I can get stuck in all or nothing thinking.
I think we all do. And, you know, it's okay to admit, you know, I've been in denial for so long about my perfectionism. I think embracing it and just like owning up to it is part of the healing process.
Okay. Great point, which is exactly where I was going next was, okay, so now we're starting to dig in to the all or nothing thinking, the thoughts, the emotions, and short-term diets not necessarily always equaling long-term health. And sounds like clarity and awareness is the first, is also. So we talked earlier, we said the first step starts in your mind, right? And then going through that process and what that looks like on that rabbit hole. And now we're talking about awareness of what's going on. So would somebody that is, when you're working with someone, are you looking at, do you start with, you said you look at their history and their life, and then looking at helping people become aware of their thought patterns?
Awareness is huge. It's everything.
Okay.
It's the foundation of everything. It's every conversation I have. And it's not only about the thoughts. It's also just about what's going on in your life. I'll give you a good example because it's my favorite example to share. And I know we haven't really talked about emotional eating or stress eating, but I know with the COVID-19 weight, that's huge. I struggled with binge eating, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the big things that propelled me into this work. So one of my old clients, she had mentioned that she was struggling with emotional eating at night. And what would any typical nutritionist do? Most health coaches would just look at that and look at the food piece. Okay, you're emotionally eating at night. Let's just take away the food. Or let's just create a rule and say you're not allowed in the kitchen after 7 p.m. or, something silly like that. What they're doing is they're making that behavior wrong when in fact it's a survival tool. For whatever reason, there is comfort that needs to be had in that moment for this client. And we don't want to make it wrong. It's right. So it's not about taking it away or shaming it or judging it. It's about adding more. We can add more tools, like what else might comfort you in those moments. But it's also important to explore why. So that's kind of that next layer that most coaches don't get to. So maybe they add more tools. You can go take a bath. You can go for a walk. You can listen to some music. You can play a board game with your partner or your family, right? But that next layer is, okay, why is this happening in the first place? And this is where the self-awareness comes in, right? Let's look at the situation. Let's take a step back. What's going on at that time? So it turns out in the evening is when she would normally connect with her mom. She'd give her a call and they'd talk about their day. Her mom passed away several years ago, and she's an only child like me, and she was very close with her mom. So that was definitely a hard loss. Mm-hmm. So it's almost as, I don't want to say she's using food to replace her mom, but she's feeling a little lonely at that time of the day because her mom's not there to call. And yeah, she has friends, she has family members, but it's not the same. Her husband's in the other room doing something. Her son is off playing games or whatever. So she's alone. She reaches for food. And a lot of us do. Why? Because it's the most readily available comfort. I mean, food is love. Food is energy. Food is comfort. There's nothing wrong or bad about that. Society tells us that's wrong. It's only natural. So I'll pause there in case you have questions or comments.
And no questions or comments. Keep going.
So good. So that was essentially it. We, just by her having that awareness, one, it allowed her to forgive herself. It gave her so much peace of mind just knowing that, like, oh, this is why I'm doing that. It's not my fault. It's just, so for me, when I was 19, 20 years old and I struggled with binge eating, it was also in the evening. I didn't have a coach at the time. I wish there was coaches like me that I knew about back then to help me with this. I had to figure it out on my own. I'm not quite sure what the psychological reason for it was, but I do know that the nutritional part had a huge impact on what triggered my binge eating. And it was based on so many years of dieting. Mm-hmm. I was restricting my body of the necessary nutrients. And I don't just mean carbs and protein and fat. I also mean love, permission, nourishment, celebration. These are all things that we require with food and we don't always allow ourselves. Mm-hmm. So I was deprived of that for years. And so by the evening time, after a whole day of being perfect with food, my survival brain would turn on and say, okay, you need to eat now. I would grab for anything in sight. And mind you, I was still counting calories at the time. So I would grab the fruit. I would grab the Greek yogurt. I would grab all the things that I still thought were healthy, but it felt horrible It didn't feel healthy. It felt horrible for me to be eating like that because I felt completely out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not about making it wrong. I felt like a complete failure, right? But now knowing what I know, it wasn't my fault. That was comfort, and it was also necessary. So it's about looking at all the areas of our life, figuring out which part of it is nutritional, which part of it is psychological. Most often it's a combination of both. And it really just depends on who you are, what's going on in your world, what your history with food is, and just taking it from there and kind of working forward one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's really great advice. And is there a reason, have you ever figured out, is there a reason people, like, the nighttime is such a hard time for people? I hear that all the time.
I don't want to make any assumptions because, again, that's something I would have to explore with a person, figure out what their situation is and kind of put the pieces together. But my guess most often is that they're not eating enough throughout the day.
Uh-huh. Okay. Not eating enough.
Skipping meals, irregular eating patterns. So either they're not eating enough or they're eating at odd times. Maybe they're skipping half their meals throughout the day. So by the time evening comes around, even if they've already had dinner, their body is still asking for more.
Mm-hmm.
It's hungry.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And what you talked about was habits. You didn't say the word habit, but as you were explaining your client's situation with her mom, and she passed away, and that was the time she would call her mom, and her son's busy, her husband's busy, and so she felt lonely. And I thought, there's a book called The Power of Habit, and in there it talks about like a loop, right, with these arrows. And so at first we get triggered, and then we we have the thought or something happens, and so we're triggered, then we take the action, and then we feel a certain way. So for example, right, sugar, or which is in fruits that you were eating at night, you personally with the binge eating, and then dairy in the yogurt, which I'm sure also has a little bit of sugar in it. And so we're using sugar as the example here. So we get triggered because we ate healthy all day, and then at night we're like, okay, now I can eat whatever I want. So it becomes like this. Now I'm going to take the action. But then what's interesting is that the result was you didn't feel better. So was it the result for you? Because it's like, why would we keep doing these things that don't feel good to us? But why do we keep doing that? And especially if the result isn't good, because I'm saying this because this can probably relate to a lot of other people when they eat a lot of bread, cheese, sugar, processed foods, alcohol, like same thing. Why do we go out and drink?
Yeah.
You feel like crap the next day.
Right.
What is all this? Do you have any insight on this?
So it's reminding me of something that my one of my business coaches would say. When we do things that we think are, negative habits, it's like we have this habit. Why the heck do we do it? She said, there is a psychological reason that we do things. There is always a reward, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we're conscious or not. There is something that we're getting out of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's something we're getting out of it. And the best example I can give to you is that, even though my binge eating was primarily biologically driven, right? It was like a switch turns on in my brain that says, okay, it's time to eat, time to fuel up because you need to gain weight. You're not eating enough throughout the day. We're starving over here. We need to get some fuel in you. So, but the reward, the psychological reward, is that it was the only time of the day where I was alone, right? Everyone else I was at home at the time with my parents. They were asleep. They were upstairs. It was 11 o'clock at night. I was by myself. It was almost as if it was this time of day where I could break the rules with food. My inner rebel came out.
Yeah.
Like sometimes, so maybe a good example of that is, all the kids are asleep, the house is quiet, you go to the fridge, you open up the freezer, you pull out an ice cream bar. It feels like, it's naughty. You say to yourself, oh, this is naughty, I shouldn't be doing it. It's like you're reinforcing that belief that your inner teenager is coming out, you're being bad, you're being, it's funny, all those like alternative ice cream brands. We've got Halo Top, so there's one called Rebel. The name of the alternative ice cream brand is called Rebel. There's another one called Wink, and there's a little guy on there winking. So it's, again, these marketing strategies, these marketing ploys that are reinforcing that belief that it's like you're only being a little naughty. It's a healthy ice cream brand, so because we know you're trying to stick to your goals, but it's ice cream. So let's be a little naughty, shall we? Like, you get what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. That's genius.
It's genius, but it's
marketing.
It's
and it's bad.
It's horrible.
Yes. But you're right. And maybe that's also tied into COVID-19, a lot of loneliness, a lot of isolation, and this like whole thinking of like, well, it really doesn't matter. I'm not going out, not seeing anybody. So I can do whatever I want. I can be that.
It kind of gave people permission to break free, to let loose a little bit. Maybe if they were on a health kick before the pandemic, they were stuck in their homes, and unfortunately, it was kind of like some people got in their head thinking, well, what's the point? I'm not out seeing anyone, like you said. So it felt to some people as if they let themselves go. That's a big fear that I hear from people a lot is, well, I don't want to let myself go. But secretly, you probably do. What you're wanting to let go, you're not wanting to let go of your desire to live a healthy life. I mean, we all want that. You're letting go of the rules and the restrictions and the stress that you are putting on yourself to maintain the perfection with food, with your exercise routine, whatever it is. So when we talk about how to lose the weight, maybe for some of us, we need to lose the need to lose weight.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And that giving ourselves that permission allows us to settle in to a more natural rhythm, a more natural habit with eating, with moving, something that's a little more intuitive to what our deeper needs and desires are. So
totally. Which do you think that can be easily done?
No. I'm going to be straight up honest. Listen, if you don't already know this by now, just in the last 35 minutes we've been chatting, I am not here to tell you that it's easy. We are so done with the quick fixes. They don't work. It's not easy, but it is so much more rewarding.
Yeah.
It is so much more rewarding, and it's effective. It's sustainable. Loving yourself is timeless.
Yeah.
Losing weight driven by love and compassion will work for you faster than trying to lose weight driven by shame and guilt and fear. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yep. And you mentioned being driven, and you mentioned it being easier if we can switch from this to that. So when we talk about somebody being driven, is everyone driven the same kind of way when you're working with people?
I'm not sure I get the question.
Cool. Let me repeat it in a different way. Is everyone driven by, how do I put this? Is everyone driven equally, where everyone that you work with is really just wanting to lose weight? Or is everyone that you're working with really just want to figure out how to stop being depressed and eat so much? Is everyone working on just their emotions? Or like what do you think drives most people that you work with to work with you?
I mean, so what drives people can definitely vary. But I'm going to answer this in a way that maybe you weren't expecting, but maybe this answers the question. So when it comes to our health goals and our wellness goals, what I see is a lot of my clients come to me like they say, okay, Lindsey, this is what I want, right? Our first session, we're talking it out. They're like, I want this, I want that. And over time, as I start to ask them questions that really get to their heart level, that's deeper than I want to lose weight. Okay, well, why? What would that bring you in your life? What would that change about your life? What would that allow you to do? Who would that allow you to be? Right? And we ask more questions. And sometimes even in a first session, they'll start to realize what their true goals are. So what I think drives people, what really motivates people into having actual success with their health is knowing what their goals are and making sure that they're authentic goals. People say they want to lose weight, and I'm not saying that weight loss is not a good goal to have. If that's your goal, like, fine. I'm not telling you that's a stupid goal. But what is behind that goal is what I help my clients get to the roots of, because that is either going to drive you to having the success that you really want, which most often is more confidence, more energy. I want to feel more sure of myself, right? I want to attract a mate, a partner, right? Oftentimes it's not weight loss that's going to do that. It's a whole bunch of other things. It's working on yourself. It's knowing who you are. It's stepping into your power. And maybe weight loss can help you get there, but that's not the driver. That's not the real motivator. So if we're not clear on what our goals are and what it is that we really, really want, what our soul is craving, we're never going to feel fulfilled. And I don't think I mentioned this in my story, but I had a goal to weigh 100 pounds. Mind you, I'm 5 feet tall, like, I'm short. So technically that's in the healthy range. But how I got there was not healthy by any means. And so I reached my goal weight and I felt happy for maybe 30 seconds. And then I literally stared, I'll never forget this. And I stared at myself in the mirror like, well, now what? Because I reached the goal, but that wasn't the goal. I didn't feel fulfilled. It didn't give me all the things that I magically thought was going to happen once I hit that number on the scale. And people are starting to become more conscious of that and moving away from numbers and sizes and focusing more on how they want to feel. But yet there's still something missing. You know, how are they reaching those goals? They're still unsure, because the world, our culture tells us that weight loss is the answer, but we're just not sure how to take a different approach.
Yeah. Yep. You know, a few weeks ago, I had came to the decision that, and you and I have talked about this, but that I wanted to get back into the workforce, because I've been self-employed for 3 years, and it's just time, financially and emotionally, and for my son and I, like, and I just put it out there. And so I was like, you know what? Here's the kind of people I'd want to work with. Here's the amount of money that I'd want to make. And here are the benefits that I would like. And I really focused on the type of people I want to work with, because people, a few friends of mine that I was like, I think I'm going to get a job. I think I'm going to go get a job. And then they're like, well, what do you want to do? I'll keep an ear out for you. And I was like, well, I don't really know what I want to do, but I know I don't want to do anything I've done before. Like, I want to do something new. Like, I want to start new. I like, I go through like 5-year cycles. Like, I'll try something for like 5 years, and then I master it, or I feel like I figured out, and then I'm like, okay, I want to start at the bottom of something else and grow again, So I did that, and within 4 days I found the team, and then I had to go through telling myself that I deserved to make the money I was asking for. And that was a whole nother thing. Like, over and over again, telling myself in the mirror, like, I deserve to make X amount of dollars. I deserve to make X amount of dollars, because I'm worth it. I will. I deserve it. Da, da, da. And so
it's a lot of mindset work.
It's a mindset.
Huge.
And we attract it into our lives. So, we can, same thing with exactly what we're talking about. We can be doing all the workouts and eating all the food, but if we don't know how we want to feel, and we're still stuck in that old vibration, and if, for those of you that don't know what that is, just look it up, the vibration of everything, of energy. then it's not worth it. Like get into that energy, get into that zone, get into here I am now, the one giving advice. I'm not trying to give advice. You're the person who's the expert. All I'm trying to do.
You are too, girl. You are too. Embrace it.
Well, thank you. Now maybe not with my eating. You are on point with all the stuff that you're talking about. And if we can focus on, like, just to echo what you're saying, not the number that we want to see on the scale, but the feeling we want to feel in our heart, and how, like, to feel fit, to feel strong, to be able to walk into your closet and pick any clothes that you want to wear. I swear weight will fall off quicker than if you go run 10 miles a day. Maybe not, but I think so. I mean, that's been my experience. So it's huge.
Amen, girl. Amen, sister. And I don't know how much time we have left, but if I could quickly touch on one thing you said to maybe make it more relatable for people, because I know I mentioned talking about seasons, right? I mentioned that when it comes to food and how we eat and how we live, there's seasons of life. We can't expect ourselves or our bodies to eat the same way for the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Some people get so hooked on that, but it does for some people it works. So you had said that every 5 years, like, you need something new, you need something fresh. I love that. I'm kind of similar. And for some people, maybe it's every year. And then you have some people who literally get a job after they graduate college and they stay with that job for the rest of their life, and they are happy as a clam. They retire with that same job they started with, and it works for them. Yeah. So it's the same with food. Some people find their niche, their way of eating, and it just works for them. But you can't compare yourself to those people.
Yeah.
Not everybody, the same diet. There are as many ways to eat as there are people on the planet.
Yeah.
So a lot of what I teach is not, the reason I don't tell my clients what to do and how to do it is because that's not going to help them. What's going to help them is giving them the tools, the practices, so that they can connect with themselves, so that they can learn those cues, those signals of when their body is saying, oh, okay, it's time to find a new way of eating now. Mm-hmm. Or your body will say, I'm actually craving this today. Let's try it and see what happens. Is all this making sense? It's knowing yourself the way you do with career. Like, this is what I want and I'm ready for a change. So I'm going to honor that change. Why can't we do that with food as well? Why can't we allow ourselves to be that flexible?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing to strive for.
Something to think about.
Yeah. It is. So that is all the time we have this evening. However, I always like to leave space for anything that we did not cover this evening that you think is really vitally important for helping people bring together their mind and their body and their kitchen to not only just lose the COVID-19 weight, but also to live the life they've always wanted to live and be really comfortable in their own body. Final words, Lindsey. Final words.
Final words is, I feel like we could talk about this for eternity. But seriously, if there's anything that jumped out at you that you want to have a deeper conversation with someone who gets it, someone who's been there, who's been through the ups and downs, who knows that this journey is not easy, and that's okay. Doesn't have to be hard. You don't have to do it alone. Please reach out to someone. If not me, then someone who is educated in, the things that we talked about, and who isn't just going to try to sell you another quick fix. Because the irony of quick fixes is we've been trying to see results for decades. Am I right?
You are right. You are right.
So you're all amazing. You are doing all the right things. Just be present. Just forgive yourself. Like I said in the beginning, be kind with where you are and where we all are at this season of our life, and know that you'll be okay.
Absolutely. Echo and bravo and all the things. I don't know why I said echo and bravo. I echo what you're saying. Bravo to what you're doing in the world. And if people want to get in touch with you, I have here that they can go to mindbodykitchen.org. Mm-hmm. They can also go to Mind Body Kitchen on Facebook, and they can go to mindbody_kitchen on Instagram. And then if people want to contact you via phone or email, is those an option?
Please, if you want to just hit me up, contact me directly. It's lindsey@mindbodykitchen.org. That's my email.
At mindbodykitchen.org. And is it Lindsey or Linds? Okay.
EY.
Yeah.
That's
I know that, but I wanted to be sure that they know that, obviously. So good. Okay. So thank you so much for jumping on to this podcast, to this episode, and for sharing all of your knowledge. And again, Lindsey and I are going to be doing a virtual yoga and essential oils class, and we are going to be doing that on July 10th. 2021. So if you're listening to this episode past that date, I'm so sorry you missed out. So hopefully you jump on again when we do it another time. So we're going to be doing that. And again, it'll be 9 a.m. Mountain Time. And then we will be working on, if it's going to be for you, if you're feeling ungrounded, disconnected, a lack of confidence, or emotionally unstable. And it's also for you if you're experiencing low energy, poor digestive health, weight gain, or inability to lose weight, and congestion or frequent sick days. And it's just going to be, really amazing. And again, it's $10, and you can register by going to Calendly.com. Oh my gosh. I wonder if I'm going to put the link in the description, and then just click there, and then you can register.
Or you can just reach out to one of us and
we'll
send you the link.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, this is wonderful. And I just appreciate you so much, Lindsey. And I think we're good to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, my pleasure.